The weird mentality. When did this happen? The Texans started off the season with a certain mindset, and then at the snap of the finger, something changed. What in the heck happened to make that happen? Plus, the weasel mindset going around that needs to stop. Let's go inside the locker room.
Yeah, it's the locker room on YouTube. You know what it is. Let's get it. Hey, locker room. Yeah, we in the locker room. Texas talk, yeah, you know what we about to do. Localize, every angle's what we really do. We the source, we the pulse of the city too. Landlocked, got the game in the headlock. Localize every time, can't stop, won't stop. Yeah, we top 2 and we not too. Plugged in daily digital on YouTube. We got taste for days.
When did it happen? When in the world did it happen? It is the locker room, number one source for Texans digital content. I'm Landry Locker. The Texans were off today, but we're never off here in the locker room. Monday through Friday, 10:30 p.m. Also SNL in the morning at 9. I really want to try to get to the bottom of this because there's a lot of frustration with the Texans, and it's getting a lot of national attention. And I don't know when it started or when exactly this mindset started. And I'm talking about the mindset of justification and the mindset of just flat out acceptance of stuff that clearly is not good enough. And I'll bring D'Amico Ryans to the forefront. We'll also hear from CJ Stroud. But this is just the start of the season when the Texans won their first few games. The clear theme, and we talked about it, was, man, it's crazy, but you listen to the players in the locker room, you listen to the head coach, like they almost don't seem satisfied. Like they feel like even though they've won the game, they can be even better. That's what the overall theme was. You heard it from all the players in the locker room, and you even heard it from the head coach. Here was D'Amico Ryans. I think this was after week 2. Here was D'Amico Ryans talking about that balance.
Just to when giving your team a message,
boy with the question,
enjoying winning because that's the main goal, and then at the same time saying, well, we didn't play as well as we possibly could have, or we could be a lot better. Is there any challenge like when it comes to the messaging of that?
The challenge for us is always to improve and get better. That's always my challenge, right? That's how you push for greatness, right? And it's never easy. I'll say to win in this league. A lot of games come down to one possession.
Okay.
Each and every week, over half of the games or more than half of the games will come down to one possession. So to me, a win is a win. And we're excited to win the game. I thought our guys battled and did a great job of making the plays we needed to make to win the game. And that's always the number one goal, is to win each week.
Okay. That's the win. The goal is to win each week. That was what D'Amico said earlier in the season, and he said that they made enough plays to win, and they won the game. Fast forward to this week, they lost the game. D'Amico Ryans said they made enough plays to win. So, how does that make any sense? Let's hear CJ Stroud. This was CJ Stroud after the Texans started out hot. I think Christy Reekin asked him this question. This is CJ Stroud talking about the offense that won.
CJ just said that he believes y'all are only scratching the surface of what you can do as an offense. Do you see that for your team?
Most definitely. I think watching the film from last week, there was definitely a lot of plays we left on the field. We could clean up a lot of things. So, yeah, I definitely think that we barely show what we got, but it's kind of cool because we still did kind of play pretty good. Once we stopped shooting ourselves in the foot, the plays that we ran good looked great, but the ones that we just barely missed on, like the little small things, if we clean those up, man, I think we would have had a way better day, but definitely great to line and win.
So there you go. You have CJ Stroud sitting there saying, we could be better. We got to figure some stuff out. We can be better. What happened with D'Amico Ryans? D'Amico Ryans, once again this week, he says the offense was good enough. So early in the season, you have CJ Stroud saying, we can be better. You have Joe Mixon saying we can be better. You have Stephon Diggs saying we can be better. This is after dubs. This is after dubs against what we thought were good teams early in the season. D'Amico Ryans is saying the offense played good enough. What happened? When did this change? I'm trying to make some sense of it because it's weird. I don't understand it. Here's another one from D'Amico Ryans. This one is
the penalties.
This is right after the Minnesota game. This is right after the Minnesota game. The Vikings. One of the most disgraceful performances that an offensive line has ever put out on a Sunday. This is D'Amico Ryans. This is short and sweet. This is straight to the point. This is what D'Amico Ryans said about those penalties.
Of lining up, right? We have to be better. We have to align right. You know, it's clear with the rules of how we should line up. So we have to line up correctly, and that starts with us.
All right. So there you go. That's pretty simple. It's pretty cut and dry, pretty common sense, and pretty damn true. But it's not the message that we've heard lately. And as someone who's at every press conference, as someone who listens to everything that D'Amico Ryans says, takes a lot with a grain of salt, but tries to pick up on things. I tried to think because today was the off day. And a lot of times when the off day is going on, like a lot of stuff becomes clear. I've kind of seen the light on the Bobby Slowick thing. He's got to go. He's got to be gone. Has to be. You got to get rid of Bobby Slowick at this point. No matter what happens Sunday, Bobby Slowick needs to be fired at the bye week. I'll lay that out tomorrow on SNL, but the bottom line is this. It's not going to get any worse. And quite frankly, after the season, it's probably inevitable that Gerard Johnson's going to get some sort of look. I don't know if Gerard Johnson's worth a damn as a play caller. And I think the most nightmarish situation for the Texans with CJ Stroud's development and with the first few years of his rookie contract before he's eligible for a contract extension, I think the most nightmarish situation is you have back-to-back coordinators to start the season that just don't know what the hell they're doing and they can't get the job done. And we don't know if Gerard Johnson's that or not. But the one thing I can say in 100% absolute, and I don't like to speak in absolutes. Sports are fluid. They make fools of us all. But the one thing I can say is this offense isn't going to get any worse. It's not going to get any worse. So maybe you get an early look at Gerard Johnson, and maybe he just sets the world on fire. But if you keep Bobby Slowick around, there's a chance you lose Gerard Johnson and you never even know what the hell he is. He might suck. But what is wrong with him sucking as compared to Bobby Slowick? What are they going to do? Score one touchdown in the second half in 6 games? You got to do it. Like at the bye week, you got to do it. You've got to see what Gerard Johnson has. Or it can be Bill Lazor. Whatever you want to do. But it's not getting done with Bobby Slowick at this point. It's just not getting done. And I find myself, because we don't have to go to the facility, because we're just doing the show in the morning and then just hanging out with daughter, going out to eat, chilling. I find myself like just looking at these stats. And when you think about this, when you think about one touchdown, one offensive touchdown in the second half in 6 weeks, and I'm hammering this home because I'm just going to put in perspective how pathetic that is. The San Francisco 49ers are beat to crap. Half their team is hurt. Brandon Allen had a second half touchdown this week against Green Bay. Pretty damn good defense. Bobby Slowick was lost against them. Brandon Allen has led in the last 6 weeks as many second half touchdowns as CJ Stroud and the Houston Texans. 6 weeks. This one really hurt. Rocky asks if I'm an indica or sativa. Hybrid for sure. I can mix and match. It doesn't really matter. The sative's probably a little bit better.
High-grade marijuana called Kush on the streets.
But
Did you know what that was?
Prefer the Hybie. But let me just put this in perspective, how pathetic this offense is. And this is really going to hurt y'all. This is really going to hurt y'all. And it actually just kicked me in the nuts. The Texans this year have failed to score a second half touchdown in 6 games. They've played 12 ball games, and in 6 games, they failed to score a second half touchdown. Davis Mills in his rookie season with David Culley and Tim Kelly calling plays in 11 starts failed to score a second half touchdown in just 6 games. This offense is performing at the same level in the second half as Tim Kelly, Davis Mills, and David Culley. There's no effing excuse for that. It won't get worse. I promise you. Could it suck? Perhaps. But it could get better too. It's over with Bobby Slowick. It's done. Maybe this is me sitting around all day and just kind of really thinking about it. It's done. Okay? And D'Amico either needs to proactively figure that out, or we're just going to sit around and figure some stuff out. It should not matter what happens Sunday. Give a rat's ass if you score 3 touchdowns in the second half. It's done. It's over. The hope of like flipping some sort of switch and being able to make a run in the playoffs is done with Bobby Slowick. Is it done if you bring in a new offensive coordinator? Maybe not. But I've seen the light. It's not going to work. And it's not some big change. I saw Seth Payne talking about this today, and I thought it was a really good kind of rant by Seth about this. But it's not hard. It happens all the time. These guys are going to do the exact same things. They're going to put in a game plan, just like Slowick does, and they're going to keep doing exactly what they do. And it might get better, but it's not going to get worse. It's not. Here's what Seth Payne said about this notion that you can't switch the offensive coordinator right now. This was Seth on his channel.
And they got to fix some of these things. At this point right now, regardless of things you could have done in the offseason to address the interior offensive line, things you could have done game management-wise, what have you, earlier in the season, guys who could be playing better, you're not going to go out and find a top-notch tight end right now. You're not going to go out and find a top-notch left guard right now. You can change the coordinator. You simply can. It's the easiest and simplest thing to do.
Thank you.
And this offense over the past 6 weeks or so has been operating like one of the worst offenses in the league. So you look at any situation in football, life, business, anywhere else, what's a change that we could make that we don't even necessarily know that it will be better?
Yeah.
But can it make a difference? It's impossible for me to look at this offensive operation right now and think that a better offensive coordinator wouldn't make a huge difference. There's just too many things.
Yeah, it's a fact.
The old Bum Phillips quote that I lean on all the time. Coaching is not about what you know. It's what you can get your guys to do. The execution, right? So we hear about this every week. Well, they got to execute. Well, they got to execute. Yeah, sure. I could have made some different play calls, but they got to execute the calls that are. The offensive coordinator is responsible for the execution. Flat out. End of story. He's responsible for getting the guys on the field to execute. And they're not executing right now. Many of them are not executing up to the level that they've previously demonstrated that they can. Other guys maybe just aren't that good. Juice Scruggs, I don't think he can play left guard. But there's plenty of offensive lines on good teams that don't have 5 all pros across the board. Yeah, if you have 5 average offensive linemen and get them all doing the same thing, you're doing pretty well. So it's impossible for me not to level my sights at Bobby Slowick right now. It just, I mean, I say it even without emotion or venom or anything. I think he's smart as a whip,
for sure.
my grandpa would say. But that's more of a Grandma Doris saying. But it's just, he's just flat out not getting the job done. And
it's time to move on. It's time to move on. You gotta be proactive on it. Like it has to be done. And it's gonna really, really hurt Texans fans if in this offseason Gerard Johnson gets some sort of offensive coordinating gig and he goes and ends up being really good. That would suck. You didn't even get a chance to offer him the gig. Let's give him a chance, see what he's got. Or Bill Lazor, either one of these guys. You got to figure something out. Because this is embarrassing. And I don't know when the hell D'Amico became so ridiculous with the offense too. I think that's kind of what's really annoying is we just went through the examples of CJ Stroud saying we got to be better. D'Amico Ryans being real firm and talking about the mistakes against the Vikings on Monday. The talk about being better and striving for perfection, which is what D'Amico Ryans says. And then when you don't even win, you say you did enough to win. Like the positivity with the offense with D'Amico has almost gotten embarrassing. Like it's almost as participation ribbon as I can remember. I mean, we're not even talking about, you know, going up there and saying execution. He's literally saying after they lose that they made enough plays to win. The offense. This is the same offense where the leaders of the squad said that they weren't good enough when they won games. How did we get here? How the hell did we get here? Seriously, like how did this happen? I think I know exactly when it did. And I don't know what to make of it, but I'll tell you in a sec. Let's go to the super chat first. Let's swarm on them. You ain't never hate. Swarm. Gustavo, shout out to you, my friend. Landry, don't kill me. Never. But what if we bring in John Gruden to help overlook the offense? Maybe we can get an outside perspective. I don't know if he runs this system. They could use as many outside perspectives as possible. Paul says, happy Thanksgiving to you and your family. You too, my friend. You too, mi amigo. But here's my thing, because I thought about this a little bit along with the Slowick thing today. And I tried to think, like, when did this happen? Like, when did the Texans go from a team that wins games and strives for perfection to the team that says that the offense put out a good enough effort when they've been just absolute ass in the second half of games for a large chunk of the season, half the season to be exact, really over half if you take it even back to 7 weeks ago. They've been bad. They've been pathetic, embarrassingly bad. And now D'Amico's saying that they played good enough and we made enough plays when it's a bottom line business in other areas and they're striving for perfection. I think I remember the exact moment when it happened. And I think it was actually on September 25th of this year. And this was actually 2 days after the clip that we saw where D'Amico Ryans kind of criticized the offense for not knowing where to line up. D'Amico came back that Wednesday, and he was extra defensive about the offensive line. And I don't know what happened. I don't know if he just felt like he was too hard on him. That didn't seem too hard to me. That seemed like kind of just the right reaction. But he came out and he basically said that there's some positives on this offensive line. We got some positives on this offensive line. Shout out to Arts by Beware, new to the channel. Give you the pulse of what's going on. Appreciate you for coming through, my friend. But he came out and it was like the offensive line, there's some positives. And he was talking about Kenyon Green. It was like, there's some positives. And like ever since then, it's been real defensive when it comes to the offense. And I don't know what happened. Like, did someone not like the fact that he like said that they need to be better? Because this was when the offensive line was basically blaming the refs. And I think this was the one time that Laramie Tunsil actually talked this year. And he had the peanut gallery over there. And then I think me and Stutz asked him a couple of questions. But I just don't know when this happened. This mindset with D'Amico Ryans. It was clearly September 25th when it happened. You go back and look at it. For some reason, this whole offense went from striving for perfection to, hey, we played good enough. And let's focus on the positives. There were some positive things. And then from there, it got real weird. You remember when D'Amico Ryans said, yeah, and there's a narrative that we're not a good team. I think they've lost 4 or 5 since he did that, since he said that. There's a narrative that we're not a good football team. Only game they've won is the Cowboys since he said that. And where is this narrative? I know he's not on social media. I don't see any beat writers or anything like criticizing. I know me and Stutz are pretty critical. I mean, it's not like critical enough to where that's like some sort of narrative. So where did that come from? Like what happened with D'Amico Ryans to where this became a thing? Because it was a snap of a finger. It's not a 100% consistent thing. I just showed you the clips of guys saying that the offense has got to be better. And then all of a sudden that Wednesday, boom, let's focus on the good things. There's a narrative we're not a good football team. The offense was good enough for us to win the game. We made enough plays to win the game. We just didn't win the game. Who says that? So I don't know what's going on. I think a lot of times in situations you can kind of overthink stuff. Maybe he's just kind of overthinking it when he goes to the podium. Because yesterday he comes up to the podium and it's the same old, execute. We got to be better, blah, 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 blah. Not really getting hammered or anything like that. And then he walks 100 feet to his right. He goes on Texans radio with Vandermeer and Harris. And it's like, man, this loss really hurt. I know usually I say we got to move on, but this one's going to stick with me for a while. What happened, man? Like, I know sometimes I like to go on walks and I like to clear my mind and stuff. Did he like clear his mind or something? Did something happen? Are we just overthinking stuff? Is there like some feelings that don't need to be hurt? I don't know when this happened. But I just remember early in the season we were saying, and it was so refreshing, and it was the main theme of what we talked about. And it was the main theme of what was coming out of the locker room. Not this locker room, that locker room, the one on Kirby, the one that will be open tomorrow. There was a theme. Man, it's nice to win games, but we've got another level to this. We can really crank it up a notch. That's gone. It's gone. Maybe they just need a bye week to get right. But it's gone. It's gone away. Where'd it go? Seriously, like where the hell did it go? I don't get it. I don't get it at all. For some reason, like the offense and defense, I know the defense is more talented, but for some reason the offense and the defense is just completely different in the way that they perform and the way that they're discussed. And it almost seems like they have a substitute teacher or something like that. Like these guys are just throwing spit wads and you don't want to hurt their feelings. But they need to change something. They really need to change something. I'm not sitting here saying that you get a new offensive coordinator and all of a sudden you're like a contending team. So right now, this is just a team that needs to win the division. They got to change something. Because the only change that we've seen when it comes to this offense is that it's just gotten very, very weird where there's a very low performance and there's a low standard. And a lot of the standard is just based on dialogue, but dialogue, when it translates to what you actually see on the field, that's when it becomes a problem. You don't talk about the defense like that. And I think it happened on September 25th when, for some reason, after saying what needed to be said, after weeks of winning games and saying that it wasn't good enough, for some reason, all of a sudden, this team went from being treated like a varsity team competing for state to a seventh grade C team. And I just don't know what happened. Your theory's as good as mine. Back to the soup. Swarm on them.
You ain't never hate.
Swarm.
If our offense doesn't move the ball against the worst defense in the NFL on Sunday, I'm done with Bobby. There's no effing excuses losing to the Jags. Who gives a damn if they move the ball against the Jags? That's my thing. Make the change after the bye week no matter what. I don't give a damn if they go score 40 on the Jags. They won't. They're a 5-point favorite. I don't care what they do. I've seen enough. Make a change. Give like some sort of fire revival. Figure something out during the bye week. Doug Peterson came out today, and Doug Peterson said something that I thought was interesting. He said during the bye, they made some changes in-house. What the hell does that mean? I don't know. Surprised his ass is still around. But that's what he said. Not the C team. Man, the C team was rough, man. Remember the C team? I remember that. And they used to have you doing bear crawls and stuff. They used to treat the C team like crap, man. They'd basically have you bring us water and stuff. I remember they had you definitely couldn't get away with this these days.
High-grade marijuana called Kush on the streets. Did you know what that was?
Now I do.
Neither.
There was something called bump peepees that one of our coaches used to make the guys do, and they would have to hug each other and lay on the ground and roll, like barrel roll down the field 40 yards, and they were bumping peepees, and the coach literally called it bump peepee drill. And it only happened to the C team. That's basically what Nico treats these guys like. He's probably giving them juice boxes instead, though. Yeah, the new vision is different, man. Like, like there's layers to this, and that's why we're kind of all in it together when it comes to covering this squad and talking about this squad. So, like, after a game, there's a lot of emotion. There's raw emotion, and you're reacting to what's going on. Then Monday, you kind of still have those reactions, but you have kind of different perspective. And then you go on to the next team on Tuesday, and the storylines kind of build up, and it just goes again. That's why the NFL is the best, because they have that build up. The NFL, football is a great sport, but if basketball just had a 17-game season and there were 17 games a year, or baseball, it would be just as popular because there's all that build up. There's all that emotion. But Tuesdays are off days around here, and that's just where you kind of think about it. And I'm sitting here, I'm looking at these stats, and I'm like, okay, like a stagnant log rolls were very bad. A stagnant offense is one thing, but when you've gone 6 games without scoring a touchdown in the second half, and you realize that Davis Mills only did that 6 times his rookie year, that puts it in perspective. We live that. I had to talk about that every day. Like the same stuff I'm doing right now, this isn't optional. It's not like they could just get CJ Stroud and I just be like, hey, let's do this. I do that every day for the last 10 years, however, covering this squad. And for my entire professional career, you've been covering a squad. We had to cover Davis Mills' offense. We know how bad it was. Tim Kelly was terrible. David Coley had no business being a head coach. Although I'm happy he got his money and I'm happy he got the opportunity. That offense was as bad as this offense in the second half. And you have Joe Mixon, CJ Stroud. You didn't have Nico Collins in certain times. But that was the offense that you had. And I don't want to hear that there's not like something to it. But that's another like DeMeco Ryan C team mindset with the offense. Where DeMeco Ryan said, yeah, it's not like anything crazy happens in the locker room at halftime. Let me mansplain to you with my It's not like you go in the locker room and anything crazy happens. Nico, I see you make adjustments all the time with your defense. You're awesome at it. You're incredible at it. I mean, come on. We see it all the time on with some of the best offensive minds. Obviously, you get to gather yourself and figure some stuff out. It's just, it's just football. Bobby Slowick said the other day, it's just football. What the hell does that mean, man? I make fun of baseball people for saying that. Someone called CJ Stroud fraud on the national media. I don't know who said that. I will say, though, that is kind of one of the theories that's also going around is CJ Stroud, his regression is connected to all the podcasts he had to do. I've seen Amber Rose even come up, man. I don't know about that. There was a lot going on, though. But I think it's as much the offensive line and the way that Slowick's done things. And I don't know that Slowick's replacement, just to double down, I don't know that Slowick's replacement's any better. I just know he can't be worse. Can't be worse. Really can't be worse. Promise you. Can't happen. Cannot be worse than Bobby Slowick. Can't. Doesn't matter who it is. You can bring back Tim Kelly. He can't be worse than what Bobby Slowick is right now. Can't be. It's impossible. Can't be. No way. Gustavo, what can fans do to push the change since D'Amico won't fire his friend? Oh, you think it's a buddy thing? Interesting. Bobby might have dirt on him. At this point, I'd rather be 4-8 and just suck. Jeez. That's a little wild. I don't think fans can do anything. I think D'Amico's going to do what he needs to do. I think this is his first test. You just going to ride this out? Okay. It's not going to work. Your ceiling is limited with this offense, with Bobby Slowick calling it. I like Bobby. We'll talk to Bobby tomorrow. I'll ask him something, like why should anyone believe in you? He said it last week, and it was just like, oh, the organization. It wasn't very convincing. I'm tired of the word execute. Maybe he needs to go up maybe Bobby needs to go up in the skybox, whatever the hell they call it, coach's box, and call plays. Get the hell off the sidelines. Put a headset on. Maybe he needs a different perspective. I don't know. It's not good, though. Do you think the offense would be worse if they kept Pep? Pep wasn't good. Pep does a good job on his little pep talk with Chancellor Johnson. Shout out to him for doing his thing. Pep wasn't a good offensive coordinator. He was bad. He was bad in Indy. He got fired there too. He's not good. He's very, very mid as an OC. He did a decent job with Andrew Luck, but nah. Pep, no, thank you at all. If Be Slow ain't fired, do you hold D'Amico accountable? I mean, D'Amico's the overseer. It all starts with him. Someone says Pep Hamilton's got a weird vibe. What does that mean? I'm listening, James. Let me know what the hell that means. I don't think Stroud's getting gun shy. I think he's I do think there's some hesitation. I didn't see what you're saying. You're saying the David Carr 2.0. Yeah, I think he's losing his confidence and he's not throwing it as well, but he's trying to take some risks. What are the options then? Just let the options are you let Bill Lazor or you let Gerard Johnson call plays. And Gerard Johnson, I think, would be good because this is my thing. If he sucks, and he might suck at calling plays, I wouldn't bet against him. He's pretty damn good at almost damn near everything he does. But if Gerard can't call plays, then at least now. And you don't have another bad offensive coordinator next year. So that's my case for Gerard Johnson is you get a look at him now, the final 4 weeks of the season in the playoff game. He's going to get an opportunity to be an offensive coordinator here or not. They might just let it ride out, and then you're going to promote Gerard Johnson next year. But if he sucks, what does that do for you? And again, I'm going to say this again. I'm going to hammer this home. It can't be worse. So that's the point with the Gerard Johnson thing. You know, we talk about him, we glorify him, we sit there and we say, oh yeah, Gerard, you know, blah, blah, blah. And I like Gerard. I've known Gerard since my old co-host. He's like a second son to him. And he's a great guy. Smart dude. He can do anything. But he might suck as an offensive coordinator. So if we're going to promote Gerard Johnson next year, why not get a look at him this year? It might make your team better this year in the short term. In the short term, your team might be better this year. In the long term, if he's not good, then you don't make the mistake of saying, hey, Gerard, you're going to call plays. Or if you are going to give him the offensive coordinating, he at least has some experience to build on next year, to where week one, it's not his first time. And let me just go back to this again. This is going to be our starting point. This is our seesaw right now. We're on a what's it called? The seesaw. Yeah, we're on a seesaw. We're going up and down, up and down. It won't get any worse. It's not going to get any worse. Is it going to get better? I can't guarantee that. This offensive line still sucks. They don't swarm. They don't swarm. This ain't no swarm mindset. It ain't happening. They're not swarming. They're going to have to fix that in the offseason. Maybe they play a little bit harder for Gerard. Get a look at him. It's a chess and checker move. Oh, you don't want Gerard to do it? Let Bill Lazor. Let him be the stopgap guy. Because at this point, it's just getting boring. There's shelf lives for every coach. Every coach has a shelf life. The great ones, even the greatest coaches of all time, have shelf life. Some of those last a damn long time. Tom Landry was the coach for the Cowboys for multiple generations. If we want to go modern NFL, Bill Belichick. There was even shelf life for him. Bobby Slowick ain't Bill Belichick. We might have already had that shelf life. It's getting flat. There might need to be some sort of revival. Kyle Shanahan. Some people are tired of Kyle Shanahan in San Francisco. I watch a few Grant Cohn videos, and all of a sudden, like, all I have is 49ers on my For You section of X, bitching about Kyle Shanahan. Shelf life there. It happens everywhere. The shelf life, it happens. We've gotten there with Bobby Slowick. It's done. There's no upside. They can improve the personnel, and the offense can naturally get better, but when it comes to a guy that's able to make adjustments and a guy that's going to make it, it's done. It's finished, okay? Again, maybe this is just me being in the crib all day. Hell, I might wake up tomorrow and change my mind. I'm not going to. We're talking about 7 weeks. And we're talking about, for some reason, we're talking about going from a high standard to the offense played well enough. That's disgusting. That's disgusting. And I kind of want to elaborate on that as well. Something else that I saw today as I was sitting around the house on the off day. This was a weird off day. Saw a lot of lights today. Jacob says, you've lost it, my friend. You're blaming Bobby for Nick's bad interior line investments. Are we watching the same game? DTs have a free pass to CJ. I don't know why it has to be one or the other. I don't get that. This is what drives me nuts with sports fans. And I love Jacob. Jacob's always in here, and Jacob, we always cuss and discuss stuff. So I'm just going to say this. This is what really bothers me about sports fans sometimes. And it's all love, but I just think that there's become some sort of like instinct by a lot of people to say, and this isn't all sports fans. This is the mindset that I hate. Why is it one thing? Like, multiple things can suck on a football team. Like, if I go to a restaurant and the appetizers suck, the entree sucks, and the service sucks, and I walk out of there and I say, man, those appetizers sucked, that entree sucked, and that service sucked. Like, does my wife say to me, no, how could you say that? It's just the service. The service is what's the problem. Nah, there's multiple problems, brother. Why is it that when it comes to talking about a crappy ass offense, that it has to be one or the other? Last year, they had a shuffling offensive line and it was better. We're talking about one touchdown in the second half of 6 games. One of the worst offenses in the league. Of course, this offensive line sucks. Why do I have to choose? Why do I have to choose one thing? I can't change the offensive line. I wouldn't mind seeing some shuffles, but it's multiple things. And you're not going to have a fully healthy team every season. D'Amico's defense isn't dependent on the best players always being in there. He gets the job done. We're watching the same damn game. I can promise you that. I just happen to think that there can be multiple things that suck. I think Bobby Slowick sucks. I think the offensive line sucks. You want to pick one or the other, that's fine. That's just I don't get that. I don't know why this is a thing. Oh, it's the offense. Yeah, of course. It sucks. It's terrible. I would love for it to be gone. Appreciate you for swarming though, Jacob.
You ain't never hate.
Swarm.
Sean, appreciate you. Mi amigo. CJ doesn't get a pass, but he's not the majority of the problem. Of course he's not. Yeah, he's not playing well, and he has to overcome things. He has to make do. CJ Stroud has to make do with what he's got. It's not ideal. He has to make do. It's like Andrew Luck early on in his career. He had to be perfect. Fortunately, he's not getting the crap beat out of him. He knows how to protect himself a little bit better than Andrew. But yeah, CJ Stroud is not playing as well as he needs to for this team to be good. You can't just undo 10 weeks of trauma of being pressured in a couple games. Yeah, I think a lot of it is mental with CJ. I think it's probably getting a little bit better. Do I think they'll do anything with Tunsil in the offseason? I don't know. Wouldn't mind it though. Quite honestly, wouldn't mind it. I don't think the mindset there. Back to Jacob. Sucks doesn't describe our O-line. Historically terrible is more accurate. It's the worst offensive line in franchise history. It's embarrassing. It's pathetic. There's no pride. Outside of Jared Patterson, like when you talk to these guys, maybe Juice at times, they just seem to be doing their own thing. And I think they're worried more about their individual pro football focus grades than they are being a cohesive unit. There, I said it. And maybe that's why D'Amico, after he criticizes him on September 23rd, he goes back September 25th and he decides that he has to say to focus on the positives. I saw a report that Houston fired their OC, thought it was Slowick, but it was U of H. Yeah, I saw that too. That was interesting. Joshua says David Carr syndrome doesn't start with the QB. It starts with the protection and play calling. That's where the problems are. David Carr sucked too. Let's just get over that. He was terrible. He was a joke. He was a clown. His dad was at every practice. He was the last one there and the first one to leave. Let's quit glorifying him like he was like Archie Manning. Archie Manning, my dad used to always be like, oh, son, he was so good. If he would have been on the Steelers, man, he would be like Terry Bradshaw. Might have been right. David Carr sucked. He was terrible. He was awful. Space City Baller, shout out to you, my friend. I can't stand that y'all act like we're 4-8 fans. It could be worse. Dude, we're 2-5 in the last 5 games. Let's not forget the Jags blew at 8-3. Which brings me to this. That's a hell of an assist right there, Space City, and I didn't even ask for it. I want to touch on this because you bring up a good point, and I saw this today when I was on Twitter. It was Sean Pendergast of Sports Radio 610. Sean Pendergast said this, and I just thought it was whack, to be honest with you. And I'm calling this the weasel mindset. I think this is one of the biggest loser mindsets in the world. I think it's chump stuff. And this was Sean going on one of his tangents online. He quoted the Will Kunkel, Nick Caserio thing. And Sean Pendergast said, I'm as disappointed as anybody with the recent Texan stretch, But the people who say the Texans set the expectations that it was Super Bowl or bust, y'all know who you are. Just say who it is, my friend. That's like the people say type of arguments and some people on Twitter. I could sit here and I could say that my name is Landry, and I'll get some arguments on Twitter. So if that is your whole basis for like creating content or a tweet that some people said, just give me some specifics. Who said it? People say, the same people that said, and you notice it's never the same people that said. It's always just like some weird ass connection. The Texans just made big moves. The expectations get set from the outside. DJ Bieniemy kind of knocked him out though, because DJ Bieniemy put up multiple quotes where, and look at this. Sean Pendergast said, these people acting like the Texans literally said that the Super Bowl was the bar. I'm addressing those people. Well, just address them. DJ put up a Nico Collins quote about the expectation being the Super Bowl. He put up a Joe Mixon quote. And then I brought up that Tank Dell also said it on $1 million worth of game. So not only is Sean having like this weird, it might be a water carrying thing for Caserio, but not only is he doing that, he's not even right based on the players. But Super Bowl or bust is kind of crazy. But then Sean said this, and this is from the great Nick Scurfield, and he says, good point. And maybe Sean's just being nice and networking. But Sean says this, and this is a reaction to Scurfield. I'm old enough to remember when a 7-5 record and 2-game lead in the division would make Texans fan cry tears of joy. And he puts a picture of Lovie Smith, David Coley, Bill O'Brien, and Jack Easterby up. And Sean Pendergast says, good point. Why does this even have anything to do with that dog-butted, embarrassing period of football that we all had to live through? Does that really make you feel better? Like, is that like going to justify an offense that can't score in the second half with more talent? Lovie Smith's team had $50 million in dead cap. They had no first-round pick for like multiple years. David Coley was being held hostage by Deshaun Watson. He wasn't even tradable. That's what's supposed to make you feel better about a team that had expectations. Like in a year-to-year league, we're going back to the Jack Easterby years to make us feel better. Heard Sarkisian say that the other day, talking about Texas. Yeah, it's much better shape than when I got here. Yeah, no kidding. There's NIL. It kind of helps Texas. You got your pick of you can get anything. That's supposed to justify it. I like the job that Caserio has done. I like the job that ownership has done, but that's where we're going. Lovie Smith and David Coley are supposed to make you feel better. Nobody wanted those guys as head coaches. D'Amico Ryans was the most popular coach. You brought him in. So to make me feel better as this team wastes elite defensive efforts, we have a quarterback who a lot of people were using the E word with, elite. Supposed to feel better because Lovie Smith and David Coley sucked? That's embarrassing, honestly. I don't even know. I don't know how you do that. That's insane. I can't. That is a weasel mindset. And I like Scurfield. I think he's one of the most brilliant minds in town. And he's a positive guy. That's probably why he's so good at what he does. But good point. This is a good time. No, they should be in firm control of the division. They should almost have the division wrapped up at this point. I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, they've won this many games. Oh, they won as many games as they did those 2 years. That's not the standard. That's forgotten. They got through that mud to get here. I can go back and look at that. That was incompetence that got them to that point. Organizational incompetence. That's a weasel ass mindset. That's absolutely embarrassing. And Sean should be embarrassed for doing that. That's pathetic. He knows better than that. That's pathetic. Good point. That's not a good point. You trying to get some marketing or something, brother? Shout out to Sean. That's my boy. But God, that's terrible. That's terrible. Speaking of the CJ Stroud thing, CJ Stroud has been one of the worst quarterbacks in the league the last few weeks. And we might have gotten ahead of ourselves when it came to the elite word. I was never there. I thought we would get there, but I kind of forecasted, your boy follows the squad. I forecasted what was going to be elite on this team. And I think this is the biggest hope for this squad moving forward is what's going on the edge. And this was after week 2. This is your boy, 2 former NFL players trying to teach me the game. This was on KPRC with Randy McElvoy. I tried to tell these guys, tap the brakes on the CJ elite thing. Look at me getting ganged up on here. But let's just see how well this travels with time.
I think the one elite thing that the Texans have right now, and I think CJ is going to become an elite quarterback. I think they're elite on the edge. Like I can say that. I think they could develop into an elite corner duo. I think we've seen things there. I think we would all bet on CJ becoming elite at quarterback. But the one thing I can say with 100% certainty where the Texans are elite right now, I think Will Anderson and Daniil Hunter on the edge, that is an elite duo right now, and I think it's only going to get better.
I like the duo as far as Hunter and Anderson. I would actually place Stroud in his more eliteness, I guess you can say, at quarterback compared to those two as defensive ends, as elite bookends. But both of them are damn good. And at the end of the day, that's all that matters. Like, hey, we got guys that are winning their one-on-one matchups and guys that the teams have to game plan for and are afraid of. And CJ Stroud is a guy that teams are afraid of, and Hunter and Anderson are the same.
No question.
Go ahead, Travis.
No, I'm just saying, but I also don't forget about this play of the inside 2 tackles as well and what they've done pushing the pocket to be able to have those 2 edge rushers going. But I agree with Wade. I mean, the eliteness of CJ Stroud is this top 5 quarterback in this league, man. Don't downplay him to be anything less. You know what I mean?
Okay. Gotcha. Thanks for the lesson. Thanks for the lesson, mi amigo. He's not there yet. He's going through some growing pains. He's got to figure it out. The surroundings aren't great. But yeah, Nathan Palmer. This O-line makes the 2017-2018 O-line look good. Julian Davenport. Anybody? Dwayne Brown, and then he got traded. He was holding out and got traded. Yeah, I mean, that was a better O-line than this. This isn't a good O-line. I mean, it's not just a talent thing. Larry Tunsil will win his one-on-one matchups. Are you making the guy to your right shoulder better? I mean, I'm asking, like, are you making the guy to the right shoulder look better? Are you just worried about that? I think it's a good question to ask. Gonna try to judge the sophomore year with what he grew up with. It's so easy to pick on people from the outside. Let the man cook. I don't even know what you're talking about, sir. Gonna try to judge this sophomore year with what he grew up with. It's so easy to pick on people from the outside. Let the man. Dude, you're just saying stuff. You're just talking, brother. I don't know what that is like the ultimate. Like, I'm just gonna like take an internet line and say that. I don't know what that means. I have no idea what that means at all. Let the man cook. Let him cook. I'm waiting for him to cook. I believe in him. Don't know what you're talking about though, dude. Explain the Georgia game then. We dominated the number 1 defense in college football. What's the point of that? What does that mean? Georgia game got him drafted number 2 overall. Probably, if you ask anyone, should have got him drafted number 1 overall. What's that got to do with what's going on right now? I mean, you can go through a lot of quarterbacks who dominated top team in college football and didn't play good in the pros. I think CJ is going to be elite. I just said, like, I think he's going to be elite. I just think you tap the brakes on it a little bit. I mean, you're still talking about the Georgia game. We've gotten past that, sir. You know, this isn't Vince Young with the Titans where we're still going back to USC. Like, we've seen a little bit more than that. I don't know what that means either. Oh, okay. Someone said CJ regressed at Ohio State. Sean, my bad. I got lost in the comments, my friend. Offsides by me. See, I start talking about Laramie Tunsil, I false start. My bad, my friend. That's on me. Yeah, he never regressed at Ohio State. He was good. He was the same guy throughout. Didn't play good against Michigan. But yeah, my bad, Sean. I'm off sides. D'Amico's going to defend me and say that we need to focus on the positives. I feel like 53 minutes of the show have been good, but I kind of jumped off sides there. Robert says, I think a lot of people feel this way. I'm sick of Tunsil. He takes zero ownership and only cares about how much others getting paid on the O-line. Don't disagree. Anyone notice that smirk from Tunsil when he got the offsides call towards the end of the game? He doesn't have any accountability. I think he just thinks that they call his name when everyone moves, which I think is legit. I think Landry Tunsil cares more so about and someone said this. I think he cares as much about like being known as someone that's part of a bad offensive line as he does making the offensive line better. I think it's a lot about image. He knows that, though. Y'all know that. He's big on that. I think we bought into the hype, started believing the way they crowned in the offseason. Yeah, I mean, we might have gotten a little ahead of ourselves. That's good. I'll put myself in timeout. I'll put myself in timeout about 3 minutes. I put someone in timeout for talking about the intro song that Figgy made. I didn't announce it. I was just like, hey, it's just a little intro song. Don't do it all the time. We don't do it for lives. I don't need any of your stuff. But just to reset the theme of the day, I don't like the weasel mindset of trying to make yourself feel better because the Texans sucked before. When did D'Amico change? It was September 25th after the Vikings. After the Texans had like a high standard, for some reason, that standard went down at that moment. Don't know why, who, what, when, how, but that happened. Why did that happen? I don't know. Your guess is as good as mine. But D'Amico started going really soft on the offense after that. And I thought the early mindset was encouraging, and I think the current mindset is discouraging. That's where I'm at. We were glorifying that mindset. And y'all know this because you're on the channel. You can go back and look at it. Like, it's not like we're just complaining about D'Amico justifying the offensive performance. That's not how I work. Like, I don't work in hindsight. I try not to. I mean, I think you can use hindsight as like a tool sometimes, but like I try to like initially say what I think they should do or not or whatever. And if I was wrong, I was wrong. But on one hand, we're sitting there saying, man, this is encouraging. This is a ball club that's winning games and they're not satisfied with the manner in which it looks. And we're saying like that's really encouraging because there's a high bar. And then they're failing and the coach is saying to focus on positives. And then the coach is saying that they played good enough to win when they don't win. So if you're encouraged by that previous mindset, why would you not be discouraged by the mindset afterwards? That's not nitpicking. That's just reality. Like it's weird, right? It'd be one thing if I never said anything about that, but it's weird. Like something changed. Can't explain it. Maybe there's no confidence. Maybe you just have to walk on eggshells. I don't know what's going on. But that's what changed. I'm putting Clinton timeout. You're annoying, dude. See you later, buddy. Houston should hire you. Like, you're a weirdo. Like, no, they shouldn't hire me. That'd be weird. What the heck is that? The way the things are looking, do you still think D'Amico was a better hire over Payton? Yes. Sean Payton would have cost a first-round pick and a second-round pick. That wasn't worth that. I still want to ride with D'Amico. Like, he's a young coach. He's gonna figure out, like, there's gonna be some mistakes. There's gonna be some weak spots, but we're riding with D'Amico. We're still riding with D'Amico. It's just a rough part of the offense. It's a rough part of the offense. MHW Nation Laser was fired 3 times as OC. I'd rather have Gerard. That's fine. I just don't want Slowick at this point. Fired or not, don't care. Somebody. I'm sure that I wonder if he's ever had this much talent. I'm not like a Bill Lazor expert, but yeah, get a look at Gerard and then figure out what happens next. What happens next time? See how it goes. Let Nick Caserio run the offense. That was kind of a sensitive subject back in the day. Kind of a sensitive subject. Appreciate everyone. Yeah, the picks were crazy, man, for Sean Payton. And I hate Sean Payton. I'll be honest, I just don't like him. My boy's dad coached with him. Was actually pretty good to him, but just not a big Sean Payton guy. Not these days. I'm a D'Amico guy. Just got to figure it out. We'll see. See how it goes down. Appreciate everyone for coming through. Even homeboy who said, "Why don't you coach the team?" What a weird thing to say. But I appreciate everyone for rolling through. Subscribe, like, ride along. Always remember, tomorrow we're going to get more into this Slowick thing. But always remember, whether the mindset is what it was early in the season, whether the mindset is what it is now, when it comes to this Texan stuff, we're all in it together. Space City Ballers is asking for it. Ask and you shall receive.
Damn it, Bobby.
Appreciate y'all for coming through. Subscribe, like, right along. Talk to you, Mignani. It's going to be a long-ass day. They got Thanksgiving off, so we're going to hear from D'Amico. We're going to hear from CJ. We're going to hear from Bobby.
Damn it, Bobby.
And we're going to hear from the players. So let's grub. Let's feast in more ways than one. Tomorrow, we're going to feast on Texans content. And then the next day, Thanksgiving dinner, mofos. Appreciate y'all for coming through.
Taste for days, opinions to give, we got takeaways. If it's up, then it's up. We number one. You don't need to try your luck. Locker room, yeah, we in the locker room. Texas talk, yeah, you know what we about to do. Localize, every angle's what we really do. We the source, we the pulse of the city too.